How's it going, everybody? This is Cooliex, the Twilight Dragon. Um, Now that we're finished with Crash Team Racing, I just wanted to, share my thoughts and everything like that on the game and how I felt about it. Crash Team Racing came out a little bit after Crash 3 came out. It's basically like a spin-off of Mario Kart, obviously, because Crash is basically Crash is basically what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically the mascot for. He was basically the mascot for Sony for a good while, like when PlayStation first came out. This game was it was awesome when I was a kid. I mean, me and my friends and my brother, we loved playing this game for hours. It was great. The real strength to this game, I think, was basically it was just as quirky and zany as like a Crash series is, basically. I mean, the track design was great. The items they put in there were perfect. Everything just meshed together perfectly, and it was awesome. Some things I wanted to point out though. Even though I went through all the arcade mode racing and stuff like that, the one mode that I think that was really perfect for Crash Team Racing was battle mode. Don't get me wrong, the races were great when you're playing multiplayer and stuff like that, but the best mode that me and my friends ever played in Crash Team Racing was definitely the battle mode, where they'll put like 4 players in the sandbox, and whoever get the first couple of hits would be the winner. We used to do that for hours. In fact, truth be told, Crash Team Racing was the first game that made me get a multi-tap. And a multi-tap was basically, for people who don't know, the multi-tap was basically the add-on you had to get for PlayStation to play up to 4 players, because the original PlayStation only had 2 control ports. So you went to play with 4 players, you had to get the multi-tap. This was the game that made me get a multi-tap, because back then, my house used to be like the hangout for a lot of my friends, and every weekend we would just get together and we play a ton of games together, like Crash Team Racing and Smash Brothers and GoldenEye. We used to play tons of games, so this is one of the games we used to play for a good while too, and it was awesome. And the great thing is though, it's pretty funny, a few months ago before I moved, I played Crash Team Racing at my friend's house. My friend was throwing me a little, friendly get-together before I moved, and me, him, and his brother, we played Crash Team Racing. We did the racing and the sandbox play and the battle mode, and it was still just as fun as when we first played it a long time ago. The game, it's just one of those games that never gets old. Like, you can just pop this game in, and you'll just have the time of your life all over again. And that's what I think makes this game special. The fact that it's timeless. Like, no matter when you pop this in, whether it be years ago when it first came out, or even today, tons of years later, it's still just as fun as it was when you first played it, and it's great. Basic things you need to know about Crash Team Racing, because I know I didn't get to explain how things work in the game. Obviously, it's a racing game. First to the finish wins, that kind of thing. The Wampa Fruit, basically, and I didn't know this until much later, Wampa Fruit actually speeds up your car. So the more Wampa Fruit you collect, the faster your car goes. I thought the Wampa Fruit was only just to power up the weapons you pick up, because see, the weapons you pick up in the game, they have 2 modes. Basically, there's the regular mode where you don't have 10 Wampa Fruit, and there's the enhanced mode where you have 10, and now it's like a powder version of that item. So I kind of learned that later, that I seriously didn't know that Wampa Fruit actually sped your car up, and it's actually true. It actually does speed your car up. I actually noticed a little bit difference when when I was playing the game. When I had 10 Wampa Fruit, I noticed that I was going a little bit faster. I don't think you really notice it unless you're using a character who's built for speed. Throughout the whole game, I use Crash, and he's a balanced type player. He's good with control, and he's good with speed. But there are characters who are better at speed, like Tiny and Pearl. I think they're the 2 people that are designated for speed in this game. Nothing to go through. I guess I can just go and swim through the items real quick just in case, you know, just watching this and not watching all the videos. There's the missile. The missile basically locks on to any person that's near you. The powder version, I think this does more damage. I don't really see the powder version doing more. I think in the manual back then, it said like it moves faster or something like that. I haven't really noticed a change really, so that's nothing to me. The bowling bomb. The bowling bomb is basically a bomb that you bowl. You shoot it. You can shoot it in front of you or behind you, and you can also detonate it by pressing the circle button again. The powder version of this, what it does is makes the explosion bigger, which is good for hitting multiple targets. The TNT box. TNT box lets you put a TNT box behind you. If anybody touches it, they'll have a TNT box on their head, and you have to jump multiple times to get it off you. The funny thing is that I never saw this before until I played it. I did this playthrough. When you do the TNT box, when it pops off your head, if somebody's behind you, the explosion will actually hit them, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'd never seen that happen before in all the years I played this game, so I thought that was pretty awesome. The Nitro box is just like Nitros and Crash Bandicoot in the series. If you touch it once, you just get hit. That's it. There's the portal from Crash 3. The portal basically automatically locks on to the person who's in first place. It's kind of like the blue turtle shell and Mario Kart. And the powered up version of that, it'll hit everybody who's in front of you. Basically, let's say like you're in like 5th place and you have the powered up portal. But what happens is it'll go for whoever's in 5th place, to whoever goes in 4th place, to whoever's in 3rd place, to whoever's in 2nd place, and so on and so forth. It'll hit every single person. That's a pretty good move. The Aku Aku and Uka Uka mask. You didn't see the Uka Uka mask because the Uka Uka mask only shows up when you're playing as a bad guy. But basically, those masks basically give you invincibility and increase your speed greatly. And basically, when you get 10 fruit, it stays on you for a longer time. The potions. I believe they got the potions from Embryo from Part 1 because he was the boss near the end of the Crash 1, and there's this part where he just throws mad potions at you. So that's where they got him from. It's kind of weird they didn't put him in the game though, even though they used his weapon. But basically, the green potion spins you out, and when you get 10 Whopper Fruit, what winds up happening is that it turns to a red potion. The red potion will spin you out, and it'll make your car run slow for a certain amount, for like a small period of time. The other power up, I believe, is the engine. It was like the small gas. I think it's like I call it the engine basically. It gives you a small burst of speed, obviously. And when you get 10 Whopper Fruit, it basically, it gives you a bigger burst of speed. The most cheapest power up, which which everybody really hates, is the what's his face? I forgot his name. Crap, the time guy. But his clock is one of the Entropy. There you go. Entropy's time clock. Basically, what that does is slows everybody down except you in their entire race. And when you get 10 Whopper Fruit, it slows them down for a hell of a long time. If you saw one of my videos where I used it, I think it was the Rouge Tubes one, everybody was slowed down for a good amount of time, and I just like basically got a big lead on them. That is one of the most cheapest weapons in the entire game. I mean, people would say like the portal is like really cheap, but no, the Entropy's clock, that's definitely like the one. That's not like the most overpowered weapon in the game. Then you have the bubble shield. The bubble shield basically grants you immunity from one attack, and it also is if somebody collides with you, they'll get hit and take damage. The green, if you have under 10 Whopper Fruit, look at the green shield, which dissolves after a set amount of time. You can also shoot it forward, but I never recommend that because it only shoots straight. It doesn't lock on or anything like that. I also recommend just holding on to it. The problem is, though, that if you can collect a second item while you have the shield on, and what winds up happening is that you can't, if you want to use that item, you have to use the shield first, then you can use that item. And when you get 10 Whopper Fruit, you get the blue shield, which never dissolves. It just stays on you until you either get rid of it or until somebody like runs into you, or until you run to an item. But yeah, Crash Team Racing was definitely one of my favorite games back then because I'm not a big fan of like racing games. I like racing games that have like turbo and weapons and stuff like that. Mainly because I'm not that good at racing games. Like racing games, like the real ones, like Ridge Racer and Need for Speed and stuff like that. You have to like be very exact and stuff like that. Like you can't like screw up or else because like just basically I like racing games that give you like a comeback mechanic basically. Because a lot of times like I suck at racing games and then like if you're playing somebody you're playing against somebody who's really good, there's no chance of you coming back. So it's more fun when you have like these battle brawler type racing games where you have weapons and all that good stuff. I always love that. Another thing I like is that this game introduced the power slide. A lot of times in races you'll see me do when I'm sliding, and then you'll see like me get like a small burst of speed. That's the power slide. They introduced that in this game, and if you want to be good in this game, you have to master that move because it definitely gives you a good edge in speed. And it took a lot. Once you learn now to do that though, the game is like awesome. You'll love every single minute of it. One of the things I see a couple of things I didn't like though was I think the only thing I would change about this game is Dragon Mines. You see, Dragon Mines was supposed to be a level for Komodo Joe and stuff like that, the Komodo brothers from Part 2. Now I didn't like that because the Komodo brothers didn't have a mine. What I think they should have did was I think they should put Cooliex. Cooliex was a koala boss from Part 1. He's in Crash Bash. But Cooliex should have had the mine level because basically when you fight Cooliex, you fight him in a mine. So I think that would have made more sense instead of having the Komodo brothers. I think they just put the Komodo brothers in there because, it was just like, put somebody in there from Part 2. But see, you already had Tiny, who was originally from Part 2. So it wasn't like they were losing things. Plus, you have Ripper Roo also, who was in Part 1 and 2. So, but I think they did that. Well, I think they also did that because they did that, then they wouldn't have the Komodo brothers, and they were like they're pretty funny. They were like, they're like a big character in Part 2. Well, not big, but they were a boss character in Part 2, and I guess there was a lot of races in this game. Like, even though you only start with 8, there's so many you can unlock in this game. It's just tons of them. I think my favorite unlockable character was Fake Crash. In a level in Part 3 of Crash Bandicoot 3, one of Coco's levels when she's on the jet board. If you go to one of these islands, you'll see like there's a fake Crash Bandicoot doing the victory dance from Part 2, and it's just so funny. He basically like Crash with like big ass eyebrows. It's so hilarious. He was I was so surprised they put him in this game, and I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that they remembered him. Because I think he was just basically an Easter egg joke character, but the fact that they put him in here, I think that was pretty cool. It shows that that back then, the Crashers back then, I think the developers had a lot of fun making like the original series. My thing is though, and I'll probably say this again when I do the Crash 2 recap when I beat that game, the later Crash series starts to suck. In my personal opinion, the last good Crash Bandicoot game will probably be maybe Crash Bash, and I'm a little like iffy on that because Crash Bash is really a party game, so I kind of don't really want to count that as a game. But Crash Bash, I say, will probably be the last of the good Crash Bandicoot games, and this is why. Yes, there are more Crash like racing games after this. Like there was Crash Nitro Kart and Crash Tag Team Racing. I don't know that's the actual name, but I know there's those two. I had bought Nitro Kart for PS2 when it came out, and I was so excited because I was like, man, this game was perfect. Crash Bandicoot was Crash Team Racing was awesome. I was like, so now you got it in better graphics and stuff like that. It can't go wrong. And what we got was like, it was just, I didn't like it at all. It was just horrible. When I played Crash Nitro Kart, it just seemed so slow. Like, when you see my races in here and throughout the playlist, it looks like you're going like pretty fast with the brake sliding and everything like that. It looks like you're going like really, really quickly. It's awesome. It's great. You get that nice rush of speed and stuff like that. And Crash Nitro Kart, when I first played that and I was brake sliding and everything like that, it was going so slow. And I was wondering, I was like, is something up with the game? Like, is this really how fast it goes? And I was really disappointed. I was like, damn, this is kind of like, this is just kind of horrible. And the other thing I didn't like was that the tracks in there, they tried to make them so complicated, and it just lost the originality of them. Like, all the tracks in Crash Team Racing, the original one here, every track is unique in its own way. Like, every track has something going with it. Like, you either have Polar Pass and stuff like that, where it's like lots of ice and stuff like that. Hot Air Skyway is definitely one of the most creative levels I've ever played. I mean, you're constantly in the air, and there's no barriers that stop you from falling off. And you Cortex Castle, I mean, it's like every level had some kind of like nice theme, and that made it different. It's like whatever, no matter what track you did, no two tracks felt the same. Aside from Slide Coliseum and Turbo Track, those two, like, no, they felt the same. But then again, I feel like those were like just bonus tracks they just threw in there. Like, if you just, like, you know, if you did pretty good in the game. Because Turbo Track, I think, is the only track you had to unlock. The other track you have to unlock in the game is the parking lot. I think you get that by being Oxide in the story mode. But it's just that, you know, I like that feeling that every track felt different. Like, every track had like a theme. Every track, you know, I mean, some tracks had the same theme, like there's Blizzard Bluff and Polar Pass, but even then, both tracks felt different. Like, it didn't feel like you were doing the same race again. You're just doing this. You was doing another race in the snow-capped area, so it was so different. And in Nitro Kart, I didn't feel that. In fact, I hated the fact they had the stupid magnet thing, because that made the game go even slower. It's very bad if the game feels slow when you're racing, but now you got this stupid thing where they have like this thing where your wheels turn sideways and you go on the loop and do the magnets and you go slower. I was like, what is this? Like, this doesn't feel anything like the Crash Team Racing I know. So I sold my Nitro Kart, like, I think like maybe the third, fourth day after I owned it, because I didn't like it. It was a big disappointment to me. I hate it. And then Crash Tag Team Racing, I didn't really try that because I was so mad at the Crash series by that point. I mean, the last good platforming Crash Bandicoot game was 3. Number 2 is still my all-time favorite, no doubt. But after the third one, Crash just sucked. Like, at that, every game he came out with just sucked. And I'll get more in detail of that when I get to the Crash 2 one, because I want to try to stay on topic here. But Crash Tag Team Racing was exactly that. It was Tag Team Racing. And come on, it's like, we know what you're doing. You're copying off of Mario Tag Team Racing, which it's like, why are you doing that? You need to be your own game. Like, come on. Crash. I mean, come on, it's a platform game and it's Mario, duh. I mean, yeah, every platform game is gonna feel like Mario, because what are you doing? You're collecting things and you gotta collect collectibles and beat a boss. But yeah, that's just what platforming is, though. So, you know, it's technically not Mario. It's just the platform genre. But when you when you do the exact same thing, like Tag Team Racing, that's when it's like, okay, now you're definitely trying hard, and it's like, it's pointless. I didn't like Tag Team Racing either. I played it, I didn't like it. I was like, no. I was like, come on, because now you're basically trying to just copy another game, and you're sucking at it. It was bad. So sadly, the only good Crash racing game was this one, Crash Team Racing. This is the only one I enjoyed. I mean, I haven't played Nitro Kart in ages. I might try to pick it up again someday to see if my opinion of it changes. But I'm just thinking back to that first day when I first popped into my PS2 and I was all excited, and then I saw how slow it was compared to the Crash Team Racing here, and I just heard that disappointed feeling. I was like, wow, this does not feel fast at all. This feels slow as fuck. But other than that, though, this is, like I said, this is definitely one of my top PlayStation games. Like, if I had a top 10, this would be up there in the top 10s, because this is definitely one of my favorite racing games. If you never played it, definitely pick it up, because once you learn how to do brake sliding, it's awesome. The only thing I can definitely say, though, is even though this game is as fun as the game looks, it's more fun when you play with people as opposed to playing by yourself. I had fun playing against the computer on hard, because I had never, truth be told, this was the first time I played against the computer on hard. Like, the only time I played Crash Team Racing by myself was to do adventure mode. That was it. And even after that, like, I didn't really do anything after that, because I got bored and just used cheat codes to get all the characters and all the levels and stuff like that. Because adventure mode was too boring. I mean, after that, you had to, like, collect all the letters on the board and beat times and stuff like that. I was like, come on, why doing the same level over and over again gets boring after a while. So the only time you can actually have fun is when you're playing against like your friends and stuff like that. And that's what I recommend. Like, you know, this game is definitely more multiplayer than single player. I mean, you can still have fun in the single player like I did throughout this playthrough, but I still say that this game is more multiplayer than anything, because when you're playing with friends or anybody, it's just more fun. I would love for them to do maybe, I mean, I don't know if it'll work out or not, but I would love for them to do like a remake of this game with like nicer graphics and stuff like that, or just make another Crash racing game, but use this as the model. Like, don't follow Nitro Kart, don't follow Mario Kart, be your own damn game. And I'm sorry to get all like agitated about it, but that's what I hate. Like, what happens to a lot of great games is that when they do like a first part or something like that, and then then when they make a sequel or something like that, they try to follow somebody else, and it just sucks. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, your first one was so good, why are you trying to be like this game? You don't have to do that. Just be your own game. Like, your first part was so great, why are you doing it? Like, you just don't need to do this. It's just an aggravating thing to see like a lot of games go through that, and it's like, it's just, you hate to see it happen. That's all. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up though. Like I said, Crash Team Racing, great game, highly recommend it. I feel that it's more multiplayer than single player. You can still have fun in single player, but multiplayer is definitely more where it's at for the battle modes and the racing and stuff like that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my playthrough. I hope you enjoyed my little rant here on the Crash Team Racing series. I'll definitely be doing more of these as I finish other projects. And I hope you guys are enjoying the channel, and there'll definitely be more to come. This is the Twilight Dragon signing off.